So, hello. I would like to welcome you here as well. And I will be talking about ClassDojo and how we textured ClassDojo, aka AutoLayout is not that way. First of all, who knows what is ClassDojo? Wow. In Brno, there was nobody. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jakub Kaspar. I am working here at STRV as iOS developer last 2 years, and 2 years working on ClassDojo. So for those who doesn't know about ClassDojo or anything, ClassDojo is a startup based in San Francisco. They are working on the application for teachers, students, and parents to connect them and build classroom community. Here in STRV, we are working on Android and iOS app. On iOS, we are working 2 guys here and 2 in San Francisco. We are supporting iPhone and iPad, iOS 8, 9, 10. We are still writing code in Objective-C, but we have tests in Swift. But we will replace them back to Objective-C. We are not using storyboards or nib files. And we have about 1 million active users every day only on iOS. Let's talk about async display kit or texture right now. Who knows async display kit or texture? Almost nobody. OK, texture is an iOS framework built on top of UIKit that keeps even the most complex user interface smooth and responsive. Self-describing, right? No? OK. So it's a framework inspired by CSS Flexbox layout system. It infers height from layout specification of each view. It's something like AS layout spec. I will talk about it later a little bit. It performs layout and calculations on the background thread. That's the main plus of this framework. It's developed by Facebook and Pinterest guys, and right now by pretty big community. And it has some nice features that reduces number of rendered views. I will show you that also. So the main AutoLayout, OK. AutoLayout uses constraints to set up layout of view, cell, or hierarchy of the app. Texture uses AutoLayout specification. And there is main unit node instead of UI view. And it's just abstraction that includes also UI view and layer. Layout specification is container that describes how the cell or view or container or anything should look like. And as a layout specification, it can be more nodes or one or more specifications together. It sounds like complicated, but if you will see an example, it will be easier. Let's say we have one image node, not image view, and we have text node. That should be in one column, and on the right side, there should be another text. So first of all, you build one vertical stack that will include these 2 nodes. And all of these 2 things, you will pack into one horizontal spec. That's it. AutoLayout or texture layout automatically calculate how it should look like, how it should be framed, sized, and all of these things. The blue square, or something like square, is, for example, column in table view, or a table node here. Let's talk about texture on ClassDojo. First of all, why we decided to use texture. I will show you the app, maybe. Maybe no. OK, I will show you the app. So let's talk about the app as general. We use core data as the main data source to store everything, and we use somehow improved NSFetch results controller to data bind these data. It's OK for most of the parts of the app. but not for the feeds. So there can be problem if you have if you should handle reloads and updates for a lot of managed objects that are different and they have different layout. It's hard to calculate their index path if you need to combine it with static objects, not managed objects. AutoLayout is good, but it could be better. So in our case, it showed a lot of constraint warnings on different devices, different iOS versions, and it was quite problematic to reuse some subviews that we should use on all of these types of cells. So we decided to fix these problems and improve performance on the app. We were not the first team ever to try and figure out how to do it. There was already Facebook with their timeline, Twitter, Instagram. A lot of applications today uses feed. We tried and looked at a few those libraries and built some examples to find which one will be the best for us. Component kit, Instagram kit. Maybe you tried some of these. And we decided for texture. Why? Because it enables and offers high performance scrolling because of the background threads, automatic high calculations, ability to handle complex user interface, and it has quite, as I said, big or large contributor base, so it will not end next year, for example. It reduces number of views. I will show you how. And let's talk about some instrument images. Here we have performance and FPS on iPhone 4S with iOS 9. On the left side there's UIKit, on the right side texture. iPhone 4S is only one core device, so CPU has only one core. We don't really care about CPU here, but you can see that, no, you can't. The CPU is quite peaky. Texture is more like stable. There are peaks only if the device is performing fetches or API things. But AutoLayout and FPS shows you that iPhone 4S is rendering most of the time 60 frames. That's good, but bad also in one case, because that means you still have something to render. In texture, there is less views, so you have less things to render, and you don't need to render 60 FPS all the time because you are almost done before it's necessary. Okay, videos are not working today. Here in the video, you would see that it's smooth, but there is one problem with loading after every 30 items, and it's not so smooth as it could be. Here we have UIKit instrument on iPhone 7. iPhone 7 is the newest device, so it should have a lot of performance. It's not rendering 60 FPS, even on UIKit, because it's not necessary. But again, the CPU is quite peaky, and the phone is hot if you have like 1,000 feed items on the feed. Here is another video that doesn't work. Here we have texture instruments. The CPU is much better. There are peaks only, again, if you are fetching the data. And the FPS is also like lower, because again, you don't have to render all of these things, and you have less views to render. So I don't know if it showed you something, but trust me, it's much better with texture. How is it possible? The basic unit of AutoLayout is UI view, and every UI view has a layer. These are two things that you need to render for every object in your interface. UI view can be rendered, or you can work with UI view only on main thread. That means that your phone or device is handling rendering of the view, rendering layer, and also handles touches on the screen. And that's not good for slower devices. Async display kit works on asynchronously on background threads, so every node has its own view and layer. But this node has subnodes. For example, if you have table view cell, there is a lot of views as subviews. Here is one cell node, and there are subnodes. These nodes are parented on background thread. Every cell has his own background thread, and they are returned as one node, like finish node, that is rendered to view. So instead of, for example, cell with one photo and one label, you are not rendering 3 views, but only one node, one view. How is it possible is that Async Display Kit has one nice feature that's called layer backing. Layer backing means that every node is, as I said, rendered to the layer of his super view. So I will show you here. This is UI kit, and here you have one table view cell. This is content view, some background view, image view, overlay view, image, label, more labels, and all of these things are rendered in 1 millisecond because it's one content cell in table view. If layer backing is enabled, you have only content view, one view that includes everything. So you are rendering only 3 views instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. There is only one bad thing about this. In texture, it's not UI view anymore, so you can't handle interactions. It's just part of the layer, nothing more. Here are all of these views like separately. But if you need better performance, smoother scrolling or anything, without interactions, you should enable layer backing. One last thing about texture is intelligent preloading that works something like this. You have visible content of table view that is loaded to the memory. And if you are scrolling, in UIKit, you have loaded full table view, almost full, because it renders all cells from data source in one moment. Here, it renders only the visible cells, and the display are rendered when it should be displayed or it's going to be in the visible state. So it works like this. And the amazing thing is it works on not only vertically, but also horizontally. If you have, for example, collection view inside a cell. That's perfect because you don't have a lot of things in your memory. And if you have bigger table view, you are not fighting with the performance. There's also bad thing about texture we found, and we have more context that we are using for our core data. And every manage object should be accessed from main thread, normally, if you are reading. But as async display kit or texture uses background threads, it's hard to use manage object context from main thread on background thread because you will have concurrency issues, you will have leaks probably. And so we decided to create for every texture thread, create own context and read manage objects from these contexts. So take care of threads. It's not thread safe, and it's quite hard to catch all of these things before it goes live, and you can test it on thousands and thousands of users. Otherwise, I think there are any problems with this library, and you can. I think you should try that because it helps you a lot if you have problems with performance. Practice coding not because it doesn't work, but if you have some questions, let me ask. Okay, so thank you and see you later.